Hola mi gente, ¿cómo están? Aquí Alba con ustedes a traerles libros, algunos en español desde Puerto Rico. Hi people, how are you doing? I think we've got it this time. I was tagged by the tremendous, original, creative Tilly at Tilly Shelf to do My Neck of the Woods tag, which is an original tag done by the sweet Kelly over at Books I'm Not Reading. And this is the tag that almost wore me down, almost gave up, but let's see if it goes through this time. This is an easy tag. What was difficult for me was the technology involved. But we're going to give it another try. And it's a simple tag, only 3 prompts. The first one is to define my neck of the woods, whether it be country, region, or city. And I'm going to concentrate on the region, the southern part of Puerto Rico in which I live. And then the second part is to mention 5 books or authors that I think are important in my neck of the woods. And the third part is to tag 3 people. First, I want to start off with a disclaimer. I am adopted here in Juana Diaz. I was not born here. I did not raise my children here. So I've only lived here for about 12 years. Despite that, I really love Juana Diaz. And I also love the city of Ponce, which is around 15 minutes away from Juana Diaz. So those are the things that I'm going to be concentrating on today. And we're going to start off with, another disclaimer. There are many more writers and artists in this region, but I don't know them all. So I invite anyone who knows more about this topic to make a video and inform us all about the rich culture that is Ponce and the southern part of Puerto Rico, which I learned recently when I retired here. And then, where are some of the other people that I have mentioned previously? Well, one of them being Georgina Lázaro. I've mentioned her at least 2 or 3 times in my videos. She's going to get her own video. I'm going to talk about all her books. Not all of them, but the ones that I have available. And then Jesus Ortiz, I have 2 of his books. He's going to get in his own video also. So let's get started. The first one is the poet Luis Llorens Torres, who was born here in Juana Diaz and grew up to be a poet, a politician, a writer, a playwright, a columnist, and he wrote some of the most beautiful poetry, the most remembered pieces of poetry in Puerto Rico, one of them being one of my favorites, Valle de Collores. And if I remember, I'll link the Valle, a song that was composed based on Valle de Collores. And the Valle de Collores is a very poignant, nostalgic poem in which the poet says goodbye to his family, which lives in the country, as did many people in Puerto Rico who lived in the country, had to go to the city or to the town to be able to find work or to study, which is what Luis Llorens Torres did. He lived in Juana Diaz until he was 12 years old, and when he was 12 years old, he had to go to do his more advanced studies in Maricao. We believe that, in Maricao, which is a town in the interior of the island. And then his family, as did many families in Puerto Rico at that time in the 19th century, sent him off to finish his higher education in Spain. And he did so in Barcelona, where he met his wife, and then he came back. And then he got involved in the cultural life of Puerto Rico, to the point that he even became a politician and championed the cause of Puerto Rican independence. The Valle de Collores, to me, is special because it employs one of the decimas, one of the poetic formats that our jíbaros, our campesinos, used when they were having musical contests called controversias. And there are many different kinds of decimas and very many different kinds of seis, because the mountainous regions of Puerto Rico at that time in the 19th century were difficult to access. So every different region had their different variations of musical song. But the decima is a very precise poetic form. And it's based on rhyme. It's A, B, B, A, C, C, D, D, C. And the contests were that you would get a line, a verse, at random, and the singer, the trovador, would have to improvise a decima based on that line, but the line that was given to him had to be the last one. That means that they had to figure out what rhymes they were going to put in line 6, line 7, and line 10. And many times these were singers, trovadores, who could not read or write, but they had command of oral language. And that certainly has been passed down through the years in Puerto Rico. So if I remember, I'm going to link that song at the end. In the other video that I couldn't do for you, I had included a trovador who was participating in the contest last fall. A young man. It's a tradition that has been ongoing in Puerto Rico, and I love it a lot. Then we have, after Luis Llorens Torres, we're going to move on to Ponce and talk about current people who are still alive and who have produced a lot of books in Ponce, and people who are prominent in Ponce. And one of them is Pedro Malavet Vega. You saw him in the video of La Feria del Libro Usado, the used book fair, last year. And he is still active in the community, and he has written so many books. He is a lawyer, he is a writer, he's a musicologist. Remember that I brought a haul of his magazine, which was dedicated to popular music in Puerto Rico and their composers. The one you see up here is Pedro Flores, and a lot. He dedicated 15 years to this magazine. That's Roy Brown. He dedicated to the trios. That's Daniel Santos. This edition, I think, became a book because you see La Bellonera. I forgot how you say Bellonera in English. The jukebox. When I came down to study at the University of Puerto Rico, there were still jukeboxes in different places, in restaurants. And there you have collections. Okay, so Pedro Malave Vega has dedicated his life to writing all sorts of different kinds of books. He has done books on the law. He's done books on domestic violence. He's done books on music, on the jukebox, on Daniel Santos, and also even Carlos Gardel. Carlos Gardel of the tangos is a much beloved figure here in Puerto Rico because 2 months after he toured the entire island, he did not just remain in San Juan, he visited the entire island. And people loved him. And 2 months later, he passed away in an airplane crash. So people hold them in their hearts here in Puerto Rico. Carlos Gardel. And then, after Don Pedro Malave, we're going to talk briefly about Enrique Ayoroa Santaliz, who is also a lawyer, also a writer, and also a music lover. These things go together, apparently, all over Puerto Rico. And so he, Enrique Ayoroa Santaliz, also wrote a book about some of our forgotten patriots, and not just the bigger names, people that are familiar to us, but also just everyday people who lived everyday lives, but with a lot of integrity and a lot of hope. Then we have Arturo Martorell. Arturo Martorell is an artist, an illustrator, also a writer, and he has done some beautiful work all throughout the island. I don't know why I can't find a link to his latest book that I saw at El Candil in Ponce, which is a coffee table type of book. It is gorgeous, beautiful. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Had to answer the phone. So that was Arturo Martorell. And then I'm going to tag 3 people. First one I'm going to tag is Noria at Noria Reads. And I am interested in knowing more about Nigeria because Noria is from Nigeria. Fantastic new booktuber. Then another new booktuber is Jinelle at JBLiterate. I hope she can do this tag. And then there's Kazen at Always Doing. And I looked up her page to see whether she had done this tag. And I noticed that she says it's pronounced Kazen. Kazen, please do this tag. Thank you very much, people, for listening. I hope this goes through because I really wanted you to learn a little bit about my neck of the woods. Take care, people. Adios.